Hey everyone. So I am very excited to talk about gear with you. Gear is one of my favorite topics to discuss. It's almost as fun as actually being on the trail. I'm going to share with you all of my tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. I've had a chance to really pull together tons of different gear options and test them out in the field. And there's some things that really worked for me, some things that really didn't. And I'm going to share with you those things, those gear items that, worked for me, didn't work for me, things that I've learned along the way. But I do want to say that these are my own experiences. You may have a different body type or a different hiking style or, just different needs. So as you're listening, just take into consideration, some of the things that you would do slightly different and know that it's okay as long as you're being safe and having a great time on the trail. I'm going to start out with what you'll need for day hiking and then dig into what you'll need for backpacking. When you're doing backpacking, you're not going to need a giant backpack larger than what you would need for either a long weekend or a week long trip. It's not going to get bigger and bigger the more days that you're on the trail because you will stop into towns or have food items sent to you via resupply. So you don't need a gigantic backpack. So don't worry if you don't have a ton of upper body strength and you think you just can't go backpacking. It's really not true. I do a lot of ultralight hiking and backpacking. And what that means is I need to be especially prepared for the type of conditions that I will be facing. So during a day hike, it's much easier to look up the weather and, you know, have have an idea of what's going to happen. There's a link that I like to share with people of my favorite resources. If you're on the Facebook group for Trail to 4K, I will send that out after this video. Excuse me, after this video. If you are part of the group but you're not on the Facebook group, I'll send it via email in next week's newsletter. And if you're watching this and you're not part of the Trail to 4K group, then shoot me an email or write me a message on Facebook and I'll share the link with you. So it has all of the resources that I really like to use when I'm preparing for a hike. So how I look at the weather, because you don't just look up the weather in the valley, you actually have to check mountain weather. So I do that and I look up trail conditions reports, so people that have been on the trail recently. I am making sure that I know how I'm getting from point A to point B to point C and then back to point A again. And all of those are going to help me to only bring the gear that I need. Obviously, I bring some safety precaution items as well, but I'm not bringing tons and tons of stuff that I go my whole entire day of hiking without using. So I'll start out with day hiking gear and then I'll move into overnight backpacking gear. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is a backpack. For day hiking, it can be very simple. So if you have a backpack that you're currently using and it works well, the straps are in good condition, it can hold all the gear that you need for the hike, then go with that. You might want to invest in a better backpack, and that's something that I would definitely recommend doing. Um, I would wait until, if you're new to hiking, make sure that it's something that you are really interested in and you want to pursue more before kind of dumping a lot of money into different gear items. So this is the backpack that I use. You can see it's pretty beat up. I do a lot of bushwhacking, so the mesh on the pockets are pretty worn. But this is an awesome backpack. It's the Gossamer Gear Type 2. It's aerobic material, so it's really tough. And in New England, I feel that you need a tougher material backpack in order to make it survive while you're going through, caves and forests. And, the trail has a lot of different, granite, a lot of materials that you're kind of going through. So having something that's pretty tough is great. So this backpack has a lot of storage. It has a front zipper here. You want to clip it through here, and there's a good deal of storage inside. It has two side pockets. When you're getting a backpack, make sure that you can easily access water and your snacks. And that way you're more apt to stay fueled throughout the hike and not getting dehydrated and trying to play catch up and not, um, you know, refusing to stop for food because you don't have time or you just don't feel like stopping. So I like a backpack that has great hip pockets. So that's something that I look for when I'm getting a backpack. Like I said, you can get, a variety of backpacks, make sure the straps are comfortable for you, it fits your gear, and you can access your food and your map and compass, all that easily. So that's the Gossamer Gear Type 2. I actually started hiking with a Camelback. It was the Camelback Helena, which they don't make anymore, but that has the hydration reservoir, which I really like. But most backpacks now actually have this external sleeve inside. You can't see in the video, but there's a sleeve inside, and then there's a hole for the tubing in the back, and you put it through there, and then you strap it through your the backpack straps, and you're able to drink water while you're hiking. This is, I have all my gear behind me so I can easily grab it. So hopefully it's not awkward and it goes by well. So I started using the Camelback, and I actually got sick one time on a hike. So I was doing Whiteface and Passaconaway, for those that are New England based. And I had done, this was my first round of the 4,000 footers, and I had gone up to the summit of Whiteface and Passaconaway, and I started descending. And I felt really, really sick. And the whole hike is about 10 miles, and I had gone on plenty of 10-mile hikes. I was being consistent with my hiking. I drank tons of water, and I was, eating along the way, so I had no idea what it was. And right before I got to the trailhead, and if you've done this hike before, it actually goes through someone's property, and there's a sign that says private property, hikers welcome. And I actually threw up on their property, and I couldn't figure it out. And then I, drank some additional water through just a water bottle, and I found out that the tubing on the Camelback, I actually got some mold from when I was cleaning it that just wouldn't come out. It's a really hard to reach place. So I got sick from it, and now they actually make Camelback. This is the platypus, but where it connects to the bladder, the tubing, it actually disconnects now, so you can just replace the tubing if you need to. When I am done with my hike and I get back home, I try to be really good about unpacking and cleaning out my gear, and that way it'll last a lot longer. So I'm going to give you some tips as I kind of show you the gear that I'm using, what I do to keep my gear in top condition. I will admit sometimes I'm lazy and it takes me a day or two, but I do try to do this. With the bladder, I empty it out, I rinse it. As I'm using it, I never put, an electrolyte tablet or Gatorade or anything other than water. It's straight water. If I want something that has electrolytes, I'll either use, I'll have, like a goo. So that's Cliff Bar has an energy gel. Pro Bar has these bolts. So those have, some great electrolytes and, kind of boost you up while you're going up those steep sections. But if I want something like Nuun tabs, which are really great, it's NUUN. I have a separate water bottle, and I just use like a smart water bottle. You can get it at the stores, $2 for a larger one, and you can reuse those. I don't put hot water in it or anything, but if I want flavored water or a protein shake or anything different on the trail, or sometimes I'll just have two in my side pockets in my backpack instead of the hydration bladder. For winter hiking, you can't use this because the tube will freeze. So just if you're going from 3 season to 4 season, or late fall hiking, just be really careful with that. But after I rinse it out and only use water in it, I actually rinse it out with vinegar as well, and then you can store it in your freezer. You don't have to store it for a really long time, but put it in your freezer, and that helps to kill kind of everything that's going on in there. And then you can also just open it up and air it out. They have kits. I believe both Camelback and Platypus has a kit where it helps open it up, and it's a cleaning solution. yeah, I don't think you need to get that stuff. Just, use vinegar and you'll be good. So that's for hydration. So a lot of people start out using Nalgene. So this chunk of a water bottle, and I use this in the winter because it has the wide mouth cap, so it's not going to freeze as easily. I do have an insulated sleeve that I use as well, and I keep it close to my body. And I have another one, and it's wrapped in my clothing. But if you're going on a summer hike, I don't bother using this. It's heavy, so you can save a lot of weight if you're, looking to go as lightweight as possible while still being safe and having a good time. Instead of using this, just get, a small water bottle or something similar. And it's really cheap. Instead of spending like 12, $15 on one of these, you spend $2 and you can reuse it. And I do like there's two different cap options you can get for the smart water bottle. And the one that flips up is nice because you won't lose the cap. So that's backpack. This is the day pack I use for people that just joined. And then hydration, I like to use a bladder 3 season when it's nice and warm out. And then I switch to the wide mouth Nalgene in the winter. And sometimes I will use 2 smart water bottles in my backpack. Just depends on kind of how I want to be drinking my water. I will go next with footwear. So footwear is one of the biggest decisions that you'll make as a day hiker. As I said before, you don't need a whole lot of gear, but one of the things that you want to do is take care of your feet. So I did my first round of the 48 in boots. I had Loa Boras, and I liked them. They were sturdy, they had great ankle support, they had good traction, but I got blisters pretty much every hike, and I just thought it was just something that people deal with while they're hiking. And I, along the years, have figured out a much better system, and I will say it's for my feet. So you're gonna have to do some trial and error with this, but it's what works for me may not work for you. So if you hike in boots and you like boots and you don't have an issue with blisters, you already have a pair of boots, great. Don't let anyone, you'll notice online a lot of people try to convince you. The people that use trail runners say you have to use trail runners. The people that use boots say you have to use boots. Do whatever you feel is the best for your feet. So I went from boots to these are my next ones, the Salomon Speedcross 3s. So I use these. They have great traction. Right now you can see it's pretty run down, especially in the forefront. So I hit much harder in the forefront than the back of my foot when I'm wearing these. And I do like the lacing. You just pull that tight instead of having to lace your shoes, which is great. My biggest problem with these is my feet, my toes were too wide. I have large feet. I wear about a size 10. And so these were a little too narrow. So I through hiked the John Muir Trail, about 220 miles. And I don't know if you can see, yep, so that's my finger. I had to sew my shoes halfway through my hike. And I'd used these before training for the hike. And I had to sew them up because they were too narrow for my feet. So they felt like they fit well, but eventually they really weren't wide enough. So make sure that when you go, I recommend either trying the shoes on in a store. Make sure you wear the socks that you plan on wearing while you're hiking, and try a few different pairs on and see how they fit. Walk around the store for a while. Or if you order online, you can just get a few different pairs, a few different sizes, and return what you don't like. Obviously, you can't wear them outside and return them. So, same kind of concept, walk around inside your house and see how they feel. So I started with these. These are the Salomon Speedcross 3s. And I do have the Salomon Tundra winter boots, and I love those. They fit great. So, even the same brand, you're going to have a different fit. Then I moved on to Brooks Cascadias. These are the 8s version. And I like these a lot. My only complaint is the amount of room in the foot box for me. It didn't quite have enough room. So it was something that I was struggling with. Again, this has pretty good traction. I do like the traction on the Salomons a little bit better. I think they're a little bit more just tougher. So these work for a lot of people. I've heard from a lot of hiker that the Brooks Cascadia 9s were not good. I haven't worn them, so I can't comment myself on whether or not they're great or not. But then the 10s, which are, I believe those are the latest version, a lot of people like those. So even if you go boots trail runners, there's a lot of choices. Since then, I've gone with ultras. So these are Ultra Lone Peaks, and you might notice the toe is much wider for the Lone Peaks. And what it is Ultra actually makes the toe box shaped like your foot. And it's great. I have plenty of room for my feet. It's tight enough around, my ankle and the back of my foot. I really like a low shoe. I don't like to have any ankle support because in reality, if you have your ankle isolated, then all of the pressure is going right to your knee. And if you have knee issues, then that might be a problem for you. If you have a lot of problems with your ankles, definitely stick with something that has ankle support. But, I would, so if you're going to switch to, a more minimal shoe, then go slowly and do, some local hikes by you and then build up your mileage. Don't just toss on a pair of trail runners and think that you'll be comfortable and great. The traction's pretty good on these. These are pretty grimy right now, so I apologize. I'm glad you can't smell them. But these are the ones I'm currently using. And then I have the Neoshell version, which is kind of like a water resistant. I do like a non-waterproof shoe. So that's going to be the big difference between boot users and trail runners. For me, I prefer to, if I need to, just walk right through a water crossing, and these air out in, an hour or so if it's, below tree line and pretty cool out. So you're going to be able to use these the entire day. If you get your boots wet, as in it's a torrential downpour, or you're doing a stream crossing and you slip and you get water inside the top of your boot, doesn't matter that your boot's waterproof, you're going to get wet and it takes days for those to dry out. I have really sweaty feet, which is why my shoes always stink. And the boots, it's just, I think that's why I had a big issue with blisters, is because I'm actually getting moisture from my feet and not from, the outside elements. The other thing I did was, I like these, thicker wool socks. These are Smart Wools actually, these might be an REI version, either one. They're all kind of the same to me. I was using thicker socks like this for hiking, especially with boots. If you go with boots, you'll most likely want something like this. Some people use sock liners and then these. It's all up to you. I just use these now for when I'm camping, and these are my sleep socks. I have since gone to, they're called Injinji toe socks, Injinji, if I didn't put too many J's and I's in there. So these have separate spots for your toes, and they're great because I am prone to in between the toe blisters, and I don't get them with these, which is wonderful. And they're really lightweight. I don't feel like I need any cushion with my socks. It's just something that I've gotten used to and is perfectly fine for me. So just think about that as well. If you're going with a more minimal shoe, then you may want more minimal socks. So that's for my footwear. The other thing that I do, so I have the low rise over my ankles, and what I have, these are from a company, it's called Dirty Girl Gaiters. Promise you it's not a bad site to go to. And so these actually, if you're a winter hiker, then you've worn winter gaiters, and they're tall and they're water resistant and they keep the snow out. This is the same concept. So you have a hook and it connects to your lace, and then you have Velcro, and Ultras actually have a gaiter trap. If you don't have Ultras, then the kit comes with a piece of Velcro and you Velcro it on. And they just cover your shoes and, they go up like this and they go around your ankle and it keeps all the dirt, debris, rocks. So I've gone on, when I hiked the John Muir Trail, it was 15 days I was on the trail. And one day I was just too lazy to put them on. 20 minutes later, I had to because I got so many rocks and, I got sand and all that stuff in my shoes. So that's something that, I didn't expect them to work as well as they did. So I was pleasantly surprised. Those are about $20. And I wasn't sure if they were worth it, but I love mine. Mine are outer space gators. You can get sushi, you can get animal prints, you can get bacon, tons of different prints. So they're a lot of fun. And they have just plain color. If you're boring, you can get a solid color gator. So that's for shoes and footwear. A lot of people, if you really do have a lot of issues with your toes and blisters, then glacier gel works really well instead of anything else for your blisters. And then you also might want to try just using a little bit of Vaseline between your toes if that's an issue for you. That helps a lot. The other thing I'm going to go to is clothing. So, you have your backpack, you have your footwear, you have your hydration setup. So I'm going to go to what I do for clothing. For men, obviously, it's going to be a little bit different. And then for women, it might be different for you too. So I'm just going to quickly go over that. I didn't plug in, so I'm going to plug in right now. So excuse the noise. So what I do, I actually used to wear pants hiking like normal people. And I found that women's pants just don't fit right. I've never found a pair that really fits, extremely well. They're either too short, too long, really low rise. I don't understand why hiking pants need to be low rise. So I have pictures where I'm doing a water crossing. There's one and you can see my underwear clearly. And it's just I'm not making a fashion statement, but I would like my pants to cover my butt. So if you have found that you can't find pants that really fit you well, if around the thigh it's too tight and you can't lift your legs up rocks because your pants are too tight and you're worried about splitting them, then you might want to consider going the route that I go to. So let me grab that stuff right now. So I have, right over here, I have a few different options depending on the weather and kind of what I feel like wearing. And honestly, part of this is it's kind of fun. But I started wearing a hiking skirt, not on every hike, but sometimes. So I'll go back to the John Muir Trail because that was my most recent long distance hike. That was my biggest one. And it's in the Sierra Nevada, so it goes from Yosemite National Park to the summit of Mount Whitney, and it's very exposed. It's very different than hiking in the Northeast. And one of my biggest concerns was, just hiking by myself, being able to pee just in the middle without trees and all the stuff that, all the things we're spoiled with out here. So when you're hiking in a skirt, it's actually super easy to pee discreetly. And then you can also use a skirt to layer. So you can do long underwear. So I know these are fuchsia. They're great. So I actually out there in the summer, it's not in the desert, but it's high Sierra. So it's still pretty hot, was pretty much head to toe in wool. So merino wool is great. If you're vegan, obviously you'll need another option. So synthetic materials would be the best for you. Obviously no cotton. So most of you do know that head to toe, no cotton. One of the biggest things that people don't really think about is your underwear. Make sure your underwear isn't cotton either. Because cotton, it gets, once it gets wet, then it takes a long time to dry out, and it can just be really dangerous. If you've ever hiked in jeans, I know a lot of people when they started hiking were hiking in jeans, And yeah, it's just not, you know that those don't dry out and they stay cold, and you want something that is able to wick away the moisture from your skin, and also, just if you do get wet, dry as fast as possible. So I found this system to be very versatile. So I'll have long underwear on when it's cold outside, and then I'll have a hiking skirt. This is from Purple Rain. She started out on it. She's from the West Coast and Oregon, I believe, and she started making these skirts on Etsy, and now has her own website, and she's been selling these like crazy. So I like that these have pockets because women also need pockets to, put stuff in, and it's nice to have deep pockets. So these are great. I can comfortably fit, if you take pictures with your cell phone, then these are great pockets for that. So they have, elastic band, super comfortable, and it's a synthetic material. So I'll wear that over my long underwear, and then I can just take my long underwear off or roll them up if I'm lazy and it's still a little chilly, and I have a little bit more versatility with my clothing. You can also do the long underwear and wear shorts underneath them. I'm a dork and I got space shorts to match my gaiters, and I'm jealous. Very jealous of my space shorts. So, you gotta be stylish on the trail. I look like an idiot sometimes when I'm hiking with the types of clothing that I choose to wear. But it's fun. So in the winter, cooler weather, I still wear, it's basically like a legging material. So these are Windstopper trail tights. They're made by Solomon. I was really disappointed because they stopped making them, and they're actually going to be coming out next fall with a newer version. And I saw them at Outdoor Retailer, which is a trade show that I went to this past winter, and they look great. So I can't wait to get those. These are them, same kind of concept. They're stretchy, so if you just have problems with pants fitting well, then you might want to go with a long underwear, shorts, skirt kind of option. For men, Purple Rain also makes a kilt version, and you can actually button them so they're like shorts or a kilt. So those are cool. For a top, I go with layering. So you want to make sure you don't have anything super bulky. You want thin layers that you can move around in and that you can take off and put something else on and layer over it so you're comfortable. Out here, the trails are straight up, and you're going to be hot as soon as you start going up. So you want to make sure that you have versatile garments to wear. So I always, even in the winter, I start out in a tee. So this is a Smartwool merino wool shirt. It's really lightweight. I don't know if you can see how thin that is, but it's a thinner material. You can't see through it, but it's thinner. So I'll do that, and then I have a few different options. I don't wear these all at the same time, but I'll then go with a mid layer. So this one has the Omni Heat. This is a Columbia, the shimmery Omni Heat inside. So that's great if I'm want something that I can be active in, but it's cold out. These have the thumb holes, which I love as well. I just got this one. So this is a base layer, but it's a little thicker, by Craft, and it's just really comfortable. I love that this one's long enough for ladies and gents that find that I don't have a long torso, and I find that a lot of hiking attire is really short. So that's great. And then I will always bring an outer layer. I just got this. This is a Sierra Designs, and it's the inside out hoodie, and it's reversible. So you have an outer shell. So you have a nice shell material, and then you have a fleece material on the inside, and you can reverse it. I do find that the zipper can be a little finicky because there is a lot of material, but if you're colder, you put the fleece side closer to you, and then if you're warmer, you put the shell against you. And if it's if it's raining a little bit, this is water resistant, it's not waterproof. So then you get to your rain gear. I don't bring a wind jacket. I just do a rain jacket. And if I'm winter hiking and I have a puffy, this is the puffy that I use. I don't think they make it anymore, but backcountry.com has, it's a puffy, typical looking puffy. This one has a hood and it actually folds into its own pocket, which is awesome. It's very similar to the Houdini, not the Houdini, drawing a blank, but there's a much more expensive down jacket, and this is very similar, and it's backcountry. It's a lot cheaper. If you're looking to get into winter hiking or cold weather hiking, kind of closing in from 3 season to a little bit more 4 season, I would start looking now, because there will be sales now that it's officially spring. So happy spring. Just start looking now for gear for next winter, because you'll save so much more money if you just buy it now. If you're an REI member, you have the dividend, use that. I try to shop, small, local as much as possible. It's harder with clothing, but just throughout the year when they have big sales, just think ahead with clothing and other gear items, so you're not spending, the typical asking price for the gear when you could get it on sale. So this is from EMS. One of the things that drives me nuts is they don't tell you the model, or the name of the clothing item, so you have to remember it. So I don't remember what this one is called, but this is it's Eastern Mountain Sports. It's the rain jacket that the crew members on Mount Washington wear. It's great. So when I'm looking for a rain jacket, in the Northeast, you want to make sure you have a good rain jacket, just because you can be hiking in very cold rain. So you want to make sure that it does keep you warm and it's really waterproof. I like to have areas where I can cinch down my hood. I can cinch down the bottom, so it has a pull on the bottom, so you're not getting water in there. And the other biggest thing is you want, if I hold this right, pit zips. And what that is underneath your arm. So this is a very large one. It goes from about here all the way to here. You can unzip it so you can ventilate. And the important thing is, if you're hiking uphill and you're working hard and you're sweating, there's kind of no point of having a rain jacket on if you're already getting wet from the inside. So you can unzip it, and if you're below tree line, that usually is perfectly fine. You just unzip it and then you undo the pit zips, and you're able to keep a rain jacket on and stay relatively dry and not soaking yourself through with sweat. So that's pretty much my clothing system. Obviously, depending on the weather, this is not a winter mountaineering clothing system. I wear more clothes for that. It's really the same concept, but it's just more layers, pretty much. I also, unless it's in the middle of summer, really depends on the hike that you do. I like to bring, this is a wool hat, just a nice beanie, and then these are thinner gloves. They're actually bike gloves. I wear much thicker gloves, and I bring mittens in the winter, but these are great for 3 season. If you're going on a lot of talus or big boulders and you don't want to cut up your fingers, or it might be cold rain, then toss in a pair of gloves. It's really small to do. If you're hiking in a really sunny area, you might want to wear a baseball cap, or this is like a bucket hat option. I know it's super dorky, but it keeps you from getting skin cancer, which is great. The other thing I like to bring is a buff. So you can wear it, 100 different ways. You can do a bandana, you can do a headband, a ponytail holder. You can put it around your neck and have it, up here, up to your nose if you're a little cold. You can keep sand off your face if you're obviously not really out here, but if you're hiking out west and it's kind of stormy and really windy and it's picking up a lot of sand, it's just versatile. You can also use it to filter your water if you needed to, or clean out a cook pot or something along that effect. I also bring a bandana sometimes. If I'm doing a backpacking trip, I will. Ladies, pee rag instead of toilet paper. It's easy. You hang it off the back of your backpack and laugh when everyone touches it. But no, seriously, it's a great way to take care of that. For poop, obviously, use toilet paper or wet wipes or another material. Same thing. You could also filter your water if you're using it as a pee rag. Don't filter your water with it. Clean your cook pots. You can tie something together. Whatever it is you need to do. Bandanas are really versatile, and it's a buck or two. Um, Sunglasses. So I typically just have a pair, cheap, $10 pair, $15 pair, whatever it is. I keep that with me. So that's pretty much all of my clothing. So I I bring clothing that I need, and if it's gonna rain or not, I usually stick. I'll either use this rain jacket if I know it's definitely gonna rain, or if it's not, I actually got a super cheap EMS. It was on clearance. A rain jacket. It's yellow. They don't make it anymore. It was on clearance. Um, Really small, and I always keep that in my backpack just in case it does rain, or if I need a more of a wind jacket, then I have something. So I keep basic layers, and I have a couple of items in case it's colder than I expect it to be, or if it rains when I don't think it's going to rain until the afternoon or whatever it is. But I I have a really good system that I've learned that works for me just through trial and error and experience. Like I said earlier, no cotton. You can either do synthetics or wool or any material like that. For day hiking, the biggest things that you need are footwear, backpack, good clothing, a hydration system. So we've gone through all of those. Food, I'll go over in a minute, but also first aid, safety. So I took wilderness first aid, and that's way more important to do, I think, than things that you carry. So this is all I carry for this is my ditty bag, and it's just a little zippered sack. I have some material that I can make a splint with, or wrap my knee. Chapstick. I literally don't have a whole lot of safety stuff in here. I have some gauze, some band-aids, I have some tape, I have one of those space pens. um, I don't know, I wouldn't spend the money on this, it was a gift, but I wouldn't go out and get a space pen because they're expensive. Just get a regular pen, or a mechanical pencil works well too. I have some duct tape. I have a Leatherman, so just a really tiny, small. I never use it. If you need to cut a piece of duct tape or something like that, it's good to have. Hand warmer, butterfly closures. I think I said band-aids, but I have band-aids, and I have sunscreen. That's pretty much it. I don't have a suture kit. If I cut myself that bad, I'm not going to sew myself up. I know from experience, if you're a registered nurse and that's something you're comfortable with and something that you do, then bring it. But if not, if you break your leg, if there's all these situations that if it happens, you're not getting yourself out of it. You're not going to be able to carry yourself down a mountain, or even if you hike with 2 or 3 other people, it takes at least 6 people to carry you down. So all the people that say, oh, we need to carry this huge first aid kit that really is meant for car emergencies, you really don't. The other safety thing I carry is SOL, Survive Outdoors Longer, not shit out of luck. They make this bivy, and it's emergency bivy, and I've never used it before, but I always carry it with me on day hikes. It's just great to have in case you do need to stay overnight. You have your layers. You're not going to be comfortable, but it's going to help you survive outdoors longer. There we go. So that's pretty much my safety stuff. I know how to make a splint with materials in my backpack. If you have a trekking pole, if you have a sit pad, those things will help you. And just having the mindset and the skills and the know-how, if you see that the weather's turning, if you are a lot more tired than you think you were going to be, and you make it up a third of the way instead of, the entire way up, And it's getting to the time where you said you turn around, just turn around. That's my best piece of advice, is just mentally be prepared and turn around when you need to. Don't just don't make stupid decisions. Most of you have seen on Facebook and, other news sources, because Facebook is now a news source, all the people that get rescued. And it's typically, two teenagers, they go hiking and they don't have enough water, but they keep going for some reason, or they're wearing flip flops, or just something really silly. Sometimes it's really unfortunate and it's an experienced hiker and they die because they made poor decisions, because they were too excited about what they were doing, or had to prove themselves to, someone else, or whatever it was. So make sure you're just being smart. And that's the best piece of safety equipment that you're going to have, is, just your brain. So I'm going to quickly go over food. I don't have all of my food items I would bring. I'm not going to make a sandwich just to show you. But I have this, Sea to Summit has a mesh bag, and it's wonderful. I like to have not everything. I like to have some food, a couple bars, a gel or something in my hip belt pocket. So when I'm hiking, I can just easily access it. I might have a little bag of trail mix, whatever it is, but all of my other snacks and lunch go into this mesh bag. And I'll carry, I mentioned these Bolt gummies before. These gels, this has 100 calories right here. It's really tiny. It actually tastes pretty good. Those are just extras that I just always keep in my backpack. I'll use, or I won't use them, but it's not taking a lot of space. Then I have some bars, pretty basic stuff. So this is a protein bar. So ProBar had a half off deal thing, so I have a lot of ProBar stuff right now. So I have Superfood ProBar. It's like a real meal bar. Uber, I like those as well. Make sure you always try out the food that you're going to use on a hike. I don't like power bars. They're chalky. I'm not a fan. So I won't bring those because I won't eat it, and that's just not good for you. Sandwiches, muffins, calories. Just get in, as many calories as you can. For a day hike, you're gone for the day. So make sure you get in enough calories, because you are burning, a couple thousand calories if you're hiking a full day. It depends on your weight and your speed and how many miles you're doing. But make sure you just have, protein, and, I bring fruit when I go on a day hike, and vegetables, and, carbohydrates. Just have a big variety, and kind of just keep track of what you like and bring that more. I always bring some kind of a treat. So if you guys are part of the Trail to 4K challenge, then you guys have seen these. So these are the Styles on chocolates, and just they're small. So, you can bring these and have them at the summit. Macaroons are awesome on a hike, I realized. Any treats that you typically wouldn't have, bring with you. Winter or really cold weather, you want to make sure that your food won't freeze. That's one of the biggest things. So toss it in your freezer and, give it an hour or two, and see, are you going to break your teeth? And then you can also bring things like tuna and things that would go bad on a typical summer day hike, egg salad or something. And those are great for in the winter. In the summer, you want to make sure it's something like, like I mentioned, the tuna salad, or not the packets, but if you had a tuna salad sandwich, or egg salad or something that would go bad, you want to make sure that you're not running into that issue. Not a first aid, toilet kit. I just have toilet paper, and I have a little, it's called the Deuce of Spades, and that's a little shovel. It's not, the toilet paper's in here, but the shovel's not in here because it's in my other backpack. So that, these are another fun option. Honey Stinger waffles for kind of quick energy kind of a thing. I just like to take one or two of these, not this brand in particular, but some kind of a gel or something quick to eat, because you can eat it while you're hiking. And they're pretty good. If you like peanut butter or Nutella or applesauce or anything kind of squeezy and moldable, I like to pack it in it's like a child applesauce squeezy thing. So those are great because you can just refill it and take something instead of a whole jar or some kind of a larger container for that. So that's pretty much food. You know, just take a sandwich and a few snacks and you're good for a day hike. Overnight and backpacking, you'll want dehydrated food and you'll either go stoveless and you won't be able to cook your food. I did that for most of the John Muir Trail, or I have some great options for stoves. So I'm going to kind of shift over to backpacking. I will go over, you might want a trekking pole, you might want to bring a good camera, and I will go over navigation as well. But I'm going to switch over real quick to backpacking. So, excuse me, I have to go way back here. So there's a lot of different options for your stove and how you cook your food. So here are all these options. You can go with the regular IsoPro. It's reliable, it's easy. If you're in an area that there's more of kind of a fire hazard danger, then this is your best bet. I like the MSR Pocket Rocket. It's very small. So you just unfold it. This screws onto here. So obviously this is pretty bulky. It's not crazy heavy, but it's heavier. And you put this on and then you put your cook pot on top. So you have a whole system, looks like this. And that's what you use for cooking. You can also use, this is a can that's made into an alcohol stove. You can make these yourself or you can order them. Anti-gravity gear is where I got mine. They, it's rounded. There's no rough edges. They do an awesome job. They know what they're doing. So if you're not comfortable or just don't want to deal with making them or you just want them to work, then you can order those from Anti-Gravity Gear. So you have that. This is where your alcohol fuel would be. And there's multiple types of fuel. There's a great video on YouTube. I wish I knew the YouTuber's name, but he goes over, I think, 6 different types of alcohol, like heat, different options that you can use for an alcohol stove, and just goes over how long it takes the water to boil. And it's an interesting video. So if you just kind of Google it, you'll be able to find it. It's a pretty popular video. So you have your alcohol, your denatured alcohol in here, and then you have your cat can stove, and then you put the alcohol in here, and then you light it, and you have your pot on top. So that's how you do it. It's not going to look exactly like this when you're actually doing it in the field, because I'm kind of holding it awkwardly here, but there's that. I don't have the stove component for this one, but these are Esbits. They're solid fuel tabs, and those are great as well. They kind of, blacken the bottom of your cook pot, and they smell a little funky, but and solid fuel, they're really light. It's great if, let's say, you go on a 7-day backpacking trip. Practice beforehand at your house and see, how many of these you need in order to enjoy your meals. And then the last one, I actually just got this in the mail. I haven't tried it yet. Is a wood burning stove. So this is a solo stove, and it's pretty snazzy looking. So you put your sticks in here. I have not tried this at all yet, so I have no idea if I'm gonna like this, but it's another option. So you burn wood, which it's twigs and all that. And around here, there's plenty of it. So that's another option. So this is the stove component, and then this is the top for it. And they fit in together, and they actually fit in so you can put your stove inside the cook pot. Oh, for your alcohol stove, you can also get it's a Foster's can. They either use Foster's or Heineken. Those are the most popular kinds because of the type of metal and just the whole construction of it. So this is your cook pot. The other thing you can do is you can do freezer bag cooking, where you use an actual freezer bag and you have your dehydrated food. You can either make it yourself, you can purchase it, and you just boil water and then you pour the water into the bag, zip it up, and let it sit, and then you can eat directly from the bag, less cleanup. Same kind of thing if you get any kind of dehydrated food, you pour it in. It's the same concept. So that's for cooking. Or, like I said earlier, you can go with no cook foods. There's some food that you can order that is just add cold water. You can dehydrate your own food that you just add cold water to. You can go Nutella and peanut butter and a tortilla every night. ProBar has full meal bars, so there's a lot of different options. But this isn't a full-on food for backpacking talk, so I'm not going to go any more into that avenue. So I did promise I would go back to trekking poles. So I really like using a trekking pole. This is a Black Diamond Z pole. I have two of them. I typically use one. I do like to have one hand free to kind of grab onto rocks and pull myself up, but trekking poles, either one or two, they're really great for keeping your balance while you're going over stream crossings. But my favorite part is when you're going downhill, they're just really great for your knees. So you do take a lot of pressure off of your knees, and a lot of people use them. So some people feel weird about using them, that they feel like they're elderly and can't handle hiking without it, but it's better on your joints. I love them. I think they're great. So that's another option. So this is the Black Diamond Z pole, one of my favorite ones to use. I really haven't used a whole lot of different trekking poles, but a lot of people I've talked to, in my experience from a couple of different ones I've used, that's the one I like. So navigation. So for the 4,000 footers, I wish I had the other book I wanted to show you. I have the Hike the 4,000 Footers of the White Mountains. It's Steve Smith and Mike Dickerman, and it's great. It has the history of each mountain. It has a full description, tells you what hikes you can do together, has a view guide. It tells you what the hike, what the best trails to do in winter are. It's a very comprehensive, easy to read, easy to get information from book. When I did my first round of the 48, I had two books, and I would rip the pages from one book and bring that with me and use the other book as reference. I've gone through a few of these books. If you have a photocopier, imagine this, you can just photocopy the page instead of ripping it out. I didn't have a photocopier, so yeah, that's the way I went. The map that I really like to use for the 4,000 footers plus just generally the White Mountains is this one. It's called Exploring New Hampshire's White Mountains. I got mine at EMS, and I've seen them recently there, but it's by the Wilderness Map Company, and they do have these on Amazon as well. I like this map because it has the more southern White Mountains region on one side and the Presidentials and up on the other side. And it's so detailed. So it has your mile markers, and the contour lines are easy to read. It has some junctions. It has camping. It has thunderstorm junction. If it's a ridge with a high danger of getting hit by lightning or something like that. It has icons for those. It has scenic vistas and all sorts of things, but it's really easy to read. So I use this instead of National Geographic, White Mountain, AMC. I use this. It's waterproof. It's so easy. So I can use this for 95% of my hikes. The other thing you'll want to have is a compass, and you want to make sure that you know how to use a compass. So Appalachian Mountain Club, there's a Fish and Game has some classes too. There's a few different resources, avenues that you can go through to learn how to use a compass. It's relatively simple, but you'll need to be consistent with practicing. So while you're on a hike, just take it out and make up a scenario for yourself and see if you do have the skills in order to, read and, to to read it as you need to and get to where you need to go. Um, it's good practice to have. There's also some YouTube videos and stuff like that to practice just in your own backyard, but definitely always have the map and compass and make sure you know how to read contour lines and those skills as well. When I'm leading hikes, I will go over some basics and I will have us practice a little bit, but um, it's not something that you can use just the basic information I'll give you and say that you're good and you know how to use a map and compass. I would definitely recommend going through AMC or REI or any other company that has a class on using a map and compass to really spend a day or two and thoroughly learn how to use one, and then just practice, here and again, just so you consistently are doing it and can remember. All right. So, also when backpacking, we'll go back to water. So on a day hike, you typically just need a bladder or water bottles or whatever it is. But when you're backpacking, you can't carry enough water for your whole trip. So you'll need to get water from streams, rivers, ponds. Moving water is much better than standing water. And there's a variety of different methods that people have used to filter their water. Katadyn has a big kind of Hunkin filter, and you would pump it, and it took probably 10-15 minutes, and it wasn't too bad. But now there's much smaller and easier methods. So this is the Sawyer Mini, and it's just this piece right here. It's upside down. So here it is. And it's just a filter. So the way I did it is I actually cut the tubing in my platypus and I made an inline system. So as I'm drinking, it's filtering. That's all. It can filter a ton of water. I think it's 100,000 gallons. Don't quote me on that, but there's a lot. And it's really good at getting all the microbes and small organisms out. It's filtering all that gross stuff out. I have never been sick using this. I think it's wonderful. The flow rate is pretty good. If you have the Camelback mouthpiece versus instead of the platypus one, I think it's a little bit better for the flow. There's also the Sawyer Squeeze, which is the last version before they came out with the Mini, and some people prefer that one just because of the flow rate is for them slightly better. The other option you can use is Aquamira. This is another brand, but this is your iodine tablets. So you're neutralizing and germicidal tablets. So there's two different ones, and I don't recommend. Some people will swap them out into dropper bottles, so to save a little weight because these are glass. They're not heavy though. The only issue is you want to make sure that the dropper size is the same as what you have here, because you don't want to, let's say, you need 5 drops in each one. You want to make sure that it's the same and it's accurate and you're actually purifying your water. With a chemical droplet like this, you're not going to get rid of, bits and pieces. So if you're expecting to be drinking and filtering water from a source that will have, leaves and pieces in it, that I would filter versus, just use a chemical. I don't like this because of the taste of the water. So I've been 100% going with the Sawyer Mini, and I think it's great. Someone asked a question with Bareback Kit or the Ursack. And I don't have the Ursack. I've heard it's great. I probably should invest in it. With that one, I've actually used a Bear canister out west, and it's pretty bulky and it's mandatory for where I was hiking. but the Ursack is similar, and as long as you can use it in the area that you're hiking in, so always go to the website, make sure that you're following the regulations because they do have them in place for a reason. But the Ursack you can, tie to a tree, make sure it's away from your camp. You can't have it in your sleeping bag with you, but it's a great option. This is a Z-Packs kit, Z-P-A-C-K-S, and I like it because it's very lightweight. I like lightweight, and it's the whole kit, so you have everything that you need all in one, and there's different sizes. This one is more square, there's one that's more rectangular shaped, and it's great because you just order this and you have everything that you need. So you have, this is the little bag you put your rock in, and then you tie it together, and then you toss it over a branch. You want to make sure that it's high enough and far enough away from other trees that a bear can't climb up and just get it. So that's the basics with this. So you toss the rock over in the bag and it's connected, and you pull it down, and yeah, bears don't get your food. Around here, I haven't had an issue. It's great if you want to make sure that rodents don't get your food. That's one of the bigger issues. So always make sure that you're being safe with your food. Don't sleep, in your sleeping bag with a Snickers bar. It's not recommended. There's a couple different ways that people pack their bags. I'm not going to go too much into the packing process. I'm not going to sit here and pack my bag for you. But some people like stuff sacks, where you put all your clothing in one thing. You can put your sleeping bag in another one. For overnight and more long distance backpacking, I tend to use this another Gossamer Gear backpack. This is the Gorilla. There's also the Mariposa, and that I used on the John Muir Trail because it can accommodate a bear canister. But this is a 40-liter backpack. It's big enough for everything that I need, plus some. Has a great mesh pocket in the front, some side pockets like I mentioned earlier, and hip belt pockets to easily access my stuff. The straps are very comfortable. It's very lightweight. I love this backpack. It has the Robic fabric just like my other pack. The other option that I use is Gregory J38. So it's slightly smaller. I tend to use this one for winter hiking. It's just the Gossamer Gear packs, the external pockets. I found that a lot of snow buildup gets in them, and you're carrying more weight in snow, and it can get in your stuff. This, the pockets aren't as great. They're not as big, but you're going to keep all the snow out of them, which is wonderful. So those are the two options I use. A lot of people, there's a lot of great backpacking companies. So just kind of try them on in the store or order them online, get them in. Make sure that you have the rest of your gear first before you buy a backpack, so you know that your gear can fit into the backpack. So there's that. I'm going to go to sleep system. So there's someone had asked about a cotton lined sleeping bag. And I don't recommend that just because whatever the exterior fabric is, if it gets wet, then the cotton obviously gets wet, and it's really heavy because it's retaining a lot of water, and it's not going to dry out, and it's not going to keep you warm at night if you need to use it and it's still wet. So I have two different options. That's way over here that I really recommend. This is a Western Mountaineering sleeping bag. It's down, and this is a 32-degree bag. For New England, I either recommend that for summer, or if you're going kind of late spring, early fall, I would do a 20-degree. It really depends on if you're a warm or colder sleeper. But 20 to 30 degrees will suffice for summer, and depending on how cold you are at night, can get you into late spring, early fall. Obviously, in winter, you need a completely separate sleeping bag. There's no way that you can have a sleeping bag that keeps you warm enough in the winter, but not overheating and sweating during the summer and in early fall months. So Western Mountaineering one. It's extremely light. This is the Western Mountaineering Summer Light bag. And I actually purchased, this is a Sea to Summit silk liner, and this just goes inside and it adds probably another 10 degrees to the sleeping bag. So if you have one that is not warm enough for what you want to do, you want to extend it, getting a silk liner is a great way to extend the temperature rating to take with you so you're not purchasing a whole new a sleeping bag. The other option that I purchased about a year and a half ago is from Enlighten Equipment, and this is the Revelation quilt. So instead of being completely enclosed with the hood like you have with a mummy sleeping bag, that's my Western Mountaineering one, this does not have a hood. And I apologize, it is going to be hard to see this whole thing. I'll try to back up. But it has the back of it is completely open. And the reasoning for that is when you're laying on top of your sleeping bag, you're crushing all the insulation. So the idea behind a quilt is the additional material that you're essentially not getting anything from because you're crushing it is non-existent, and there's no zipper for most of this quilt, so you're saving a lot of weight. So it's going light without missing out on things because you just won't use it. So you can actually cinch, you can put them together so you are more cocooned. And then there's a separate hood that you can get if for some reason colder hikes that you're going on that you can still use a hood. This is a down sleeping bag as well. The Prodigy is the synthetic version that they make. So this has a snap at the top, and then it's open, and then the foot box has a zipper. So you can use this when it's colder, and if it's really warm outside, you can unsnap and unzip it, and the bottom cinches, and unsnap the bottom, and you can actually make a completely open quilt, which is great for the summer. So when you're, backpacking, car camping, whatever it is, going on a picnic, you can bring this blanket, more like a quilt, and use it. The other thing with this one is if you have two of them, you can actually snap and zipper them together. You make a really big quilt. So that's what I use for my sleeping bags. Either one of those. The Enlighten Equipment one, you can order them in whatever color you want and the degree rating and all that. So it's pretty custom. And they did lower the prices in the last 6 months. So it's great. I got mine at a Black Friday sale. I ordered it then, and the customer service is great. It's a smaller company, so it's nice to support them. For my sleeping pads, of course, I have multiple options. I have 3 to kind of show you. So, if you want to go really minimal, it's not the most comfortable option, but it's light, so it has holes. This is the Klymit Inertia X Lite, and it doesn't have a really big R value, and R value is just the more of the insulation properties. So this will keep you off the ground, and it will keep you a little bit more warmer, and it's relatively comfortable. This is 3/4, so you have it from basically your bum up to your shoulders or your head, and then you use your backpack with additional extra items under your legs to elevate those. It's super easy to blow up. So it only takes a handful of pumps. You just blow into it, and it's quick. The other inflatable option I have is the Sea to Summit Ultralight Sleeping Pad. I have this one, and I have there's one that's red, and it's the Comfort Light or Comfort Plus. Sorry, and so I have these two, and there's actually a special pump that they have for it, and they're really, really comfortable. The ultralight doesn't have a whole lot of insulation properties, so if you need something that's colder weather, then you can go with the more insulated version. So if you go on their website, you can see how much their R value is. One of the cheapest options that you can go with is the Thermarest, and this is just a foam pad. Obviously, it's not very small, but it's really lightweight, and you just secure this to the outside of your backpack, and if it folds out, you can actually cut it. So if you want a sit pad, you can actually cut this and make it 3/4, and then have an additional sit pad for just taking a break while you're hiking. So that's my whole sleep system. And for tent, there's a few different options you can go with. This is the Six Moon Design Wild Oasis. It's a floorless tent. It's non-freestanding. What that means is there's freestanding and non-freestanding. If you're a car camper, everything that you've been used to is you have your tent poles and it goes into the ground and it's secured to the ground. Non-freestanding uses tension, and freestanding you don't secure it to the ground. It's just the frame and it sits on the ground. The non-freestanding is what I've switched to. So it takes a little bit more skill in order to pick the right campsite and set it up and make sure the tension's great. But this is the tent. It's really small. It is the size of, it's a little bit bigger than a Nalgene. And I really liked it for out west. It's floorless. So you use a polycro sheet. That's what I used for the bottom. You can also use Tyvek, but it's a little heavier. And what you do is you set it up and you have that as your flooring, which I used as my pack liner. I prefer pack liners versus a pack cover, so you're not creating a parachute as you're hiking. And it's just more versatile because you're using it as your floor. You actually use your trekking poles as your pole. Instead of having additional poles, you use your trekking pole during the day for hiking and then at night for keeping your tent up. So that's a great option. There's some that have bathtub floors, which means it's kind of curved on the sides. A lot of really lightweight options. If you have the money to spend, Z-Packs, their tents are great. Six Moon Designs it's pretty budget friendly and it works really well. They're lighter. There's a bunch of different designs. One of the things I will say is if you tend to hike with someone else and camp with someone else, just get a 2-person, and then when you're camping by yourself, you'll have additional space. It will obviously weigh slightly more than just a 1-person, but it's worth making sure that it's right for your budget instead of buying a 1-person and then not being able to use it for camping with someone else and then purchasing another tent. I have a whole list, and just email me, send me a Facebook message if you want this, of ultralight 1-person tents, and they're 3 pounds or less. And if you take a look at that list, many of the tents come in 2-person versions. So that's a great resource that I made to help you out with those options. So that's I have that as my tent that I've been using recently. If you want to go the hammock route, I explored that. I was using the Warbonnet Blackbird. That's the model of it. And I like it. I do love the whole idea of hammock camping. There's a whole hammock forum that you can find online. And some of them are very diehard. But with the hammock, with the weather that we have, there's a lot of airflow underneath. So unless you're just doing hammock camping in the middle of the summer where it's typically warm enough at night, you have to it's called an under quilt. So it's actually very similar looking to the quilt I showed you, but it's specifically made for the size of your hammock, and that keeps more warmth in. So you need to purchase that. And then some people still use a sleeping pad for that warmth, but instead of using a sleeping pad, you use the liner, the underquilt. And then you have to have a tarp so you don't get rained on. And the one I have, the Blackbird, has bug netting already built in, but there's a lot of different pieces that it can still be relatively heavy and pretty expensive. So that's pretty much it. So I went over my day hiking, my backpacking. Trying to think if I'm missing anything. If I am, send me an email, send me a message. I'd be happy to answer. Yeah, and that's about it. So thank you so much for watching. I will go over separately. I do want to go over technology. It's not something I want to do in this one. So thank you so much. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Have a good one. Bye bye.